9 years of the same failed policies from this government have resulted in small businesses getting pushed to the brink of collapse, and many are shutting their doors altogether. According to the Superintendent of Bankruptcy, business insolvencies in the year ending March 31st, 2024 increased 56.7% year over year. The Business Development Bank of Canada reported last year that we now have 100,000 fewer entrepreneurs than we did 20 years ago, despite a massive increase in our population. In 2000, Canada had 3 entrepreneurs for every 1,000 people. By 2022, that number dropped to 1.3 per 1,000. April's labour force survey showed an alarming loss of more than 11,000 jobs in Canada's construction industry, and in the same month, housing starts dropped by 2.2%. One of the biggest challenges businesses are facing is finding workers, largely because those workers can't find an affordable place to live. How are we supposed to build the homes Canadians need if our construction industry is shedding jobs by the thousands each month? A result of the challenges businesses are facing is that Canada's productivity has drastically declined. Recently, the Bank of Canada's Senior Deputy Governor, Carolyn Rogers, declared Canada's low productivity to be an emergency. In 1984, Canada produced 88% of the value generated by the United States economy per hour. As of 2022, we produce just 71% of the value that the U.S. does per hour. This ranks us second to last among our G7 peers, with only Italy witnessing a larger decline in productivity over the same period. Adjusting for inflation, Canada's GDP per capita is lower now than it was in 2014. Budget 2024 ignores this emergency, pours more fuel onto the inflationary fire, and sends a signal to investors that Canada doesn't want them to invest in our economy. Even the former Liberal Finance Minister, Bill Morneau, has criticized this government for their reckless spending and tax hikes that will take Canada in the wrong direction. For Canada's economy to thrive, it must be competitive with the economies of our allies. But right now, we are not. So why is this the case? Canada has an uncompetitive tax system and burdensome red tape policies that continue to drive job creators and our brightest minds south of the border. In America, there is a competitive tax system. According to a recent study from the Fraser Institute, which ranked Canada's provinces and America's states by highest combined marginal income tax rates, 9 provinces rank in the top 10, and all 10 are in the top 13. Why would an entrepreneur stay in Canada when they can go to pretty much any state in America and keep more of their money to invest back into their business or save for their retirement? Exactly. At the core of Canada's economic problems are a lack of affordable housing, an uncompetitive economy, and an out-of-touch budget, and rampant crime in our downtown cores. That's why Conservatives are so resolutely focused on our 4 key priorities: axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. The carbon tax is driving up the cost of everything. It costs more for farmers to produce food, more to ship goods, and more for businesses to keep the lights on. Businesses struggle to find workers because those workers can't find affordable places to call home. 9 straight budget deficits and hundreds of billions of dollars in added debt has driven interest rates higher than they've been in decades, making it harder for entrepreneurs to access the capital they need to grow their businesses. People are scared to go to our downtown cores and support local businesses because they're worried about being a victim of the rampant crime that has increased by 39% since this government took office. Addressing these issues is paramount to turning around our economy and becoming competitive with our global leaders once again. Frustratingly, the budget failed to axe the tax on our farmers and food. The budget failed to put forward a real plan to build the homes Canadians can afford. The budget failed to cap spending and implement a dollar-for-dollar rule. And the budget failed to address the productivity emergency Canada faces. In fact, it will only make it worse. After 9 long years, this budget is just more of the same from this costly and reckless NDP-Liberal coalition. For these reasons, I will be joining my Conservative colleagues in voting against this terrible budget. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
My question for the member is this. Conservatives have been going on for months now, talking about fueling the inflation with I think they called it the budget inflation, and they keep talking about how inflation is going to skyrocket and get even more and more out of control as a result of the budget. But none of that happened. None of that happened. We've now seen 4 straight months where inflation has stayed within the Bank of Canada's target of 2 to 3%. Inflation, as a matter of fact, today's numbers are the lowest that they've been in 3 years. So why is it that this member continues to suggest that false narrative that the budget is contributing to inflation when reality suggests that he's completely wrong?
I'd like to correct the member from Kingston. The target from the Bank of Canada is in fact 2%. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On several points, I agree with my colleague. We're not necessarily voting against measures that are good for the population, but against interference and intrusions. But I'd like to know my colleague's opinion on the importance of respecting a contract, particularly that is the largest of all for a country, namely the Constitution. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I agree with the Bloc. The federal government has to do better in terms of protecting our Constitution. Our party, the Conservative Party, wants open federalism. With this minority government, the NDP used our strength to obtain concrete wins for families and people, including dental care, which is an incredible improvement for the middle class. And for elders and seniors, they can sign up to be refunded for 80 to 100% of their dental care. Millions of people will benefit from this. Already in the first weeks, thousands have benefited from it. So I'd like to ask my colleague, if they do win the next elections, unfortunately, will they remove this care from seniors or will they keep it?
The member from Montreal failed to mention the broken promise of the NDP-Liberal government, and that was to provide a national pharmacare program. They didn't provide a national pharmacare program, even though they said they were going to do it in the last election platform for the NDP. In respect to dental care, I will note I had representatives from the BC Dental Association who said that they don't want to participate in this program. And as we've said on this side, the program is so cumbersome, so much red tape, that it doesn't actually achieve its objectives because the NDP-Liberal government is so poor at governing.
You know, every time our Liberal friends across the way get up, they tell us how good Canadians have it. In fact, just a moment ago, the member for Kingston, the Islands, got up. We've never had it so good. Look at inflation, it's only 2.7%. Perhaps my colleague from Mission Matsqui, Fraser Canyon, could explain how harmful the reckless spending of the Liberal government has been and how that spending has stoked the inflationary fires in Canada.
I'd like to thank the member from Abbotsford for his question. 2 weeks ago, I was on Mission Friends and Neighbours. It's a Facebook site in the community of Mission with about 25,000 community members. And there was a mother on there who said, is it just me, or I can't get by with $350 a week for groceries anymore? And all we have to do to see the impacts of inflation is look at the cost of food, specifically beef and fresh fruit and vegetables. Unfortunately, due to the policies of this reckless government, fresh fruit and vegetables have become out of reach even for the middle class. Thank you, Madam Speaker.